Mazel tov, my loyal listeners, and welcome to a very special episode of Beastly Reads, my monthly spoiler-free book review on books that aren't necessarily related to Beauty and the Beast, but do contain some beastly elements. And this episode is special because, unlike other episodes, this one will be available for everybody, patrons and non-patrons alike, come Hanukkah, which, if you don't know, this year starts on December 2nd and goes till December 10th. Because this is a Hanukkah special, yay! And it seems unfair to make it exclusive to only people who pay, when the Christmas special is also going to be free for all. But if you want to listen to all episodes of Beastly Reads, past and in the future, then become a patron today and pledge at least $10 a month to gain access to Beastly Reads and other bonus content. If you'd like to become a patron now and see other rewards and tiers, then click the green button in the right-hand corner of the screen, or click on the link in the description below. And it would be especially helpful if you pledge this month, because 10% of all my earnings in the month of December from my podcast and merchandise on Redbubble will be donated to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping fulfill the last wishes of children suffering from critical illnesses. All you need to do is just buy a t-shirt or a notebook or a mug, or pledging at least $1 or more if you're especially generous, and you'll be helping a sick child in need. Now, before I announce this month's book, let me just clear the air and say that I am not Jewish. I know, it's probably weird. A girl who was raised Catholic is doing a Hanukkah special. Well, having minored in religious studies in college, I believe in religious equality. And that, at the very least, everyone should tolerate other religions. And when I was trying to think of what to do for my Christmas special, I realized you never see a Hanukkah special for anything. Or if you do, then sorry if I haven't seen it. But it's just that rare. And I understand Hanukkah is not as big for Jews as Christmas is for Christians. Probably because Jews aren't as into flashy commercialism as Christians are. Oh, come on, you know it's true. But I think it's important that everybody should learn at least a little bit about different religions, especially with the growing tensions we've had lately between Christians and Jews and Muslims, etc., etc., people being judged for having different faiths. And that's why I love religious studies so much. By learning more about different faiths, we can understand each other and there would be less hate between us, without really converting anybody. Like I said, I'm not Jewish, but I respect the Jewish community. It's actually something that's hereditary, as I learned that my great-great-grandfather, who was raised Protestant, he was on my dad's side, you see, was a big supporter for Jewish rights in America in the early 1900s, which was a pretty big deal. I mean, if you think about it, there wouldn't be Christianity without Judaism. Jesus himself was Jewish. And that aside, what I also love about different religions are the different stories that emerge from it. And who doesn't love a good story? Such one is a children's book that was read to me in elementary school by my music teacher every year, called Hershel and the Hanukkah Goblins, written in 1989 by Eric Kimmel, illustrated by Satu-Hana. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And this is a classic book, winner of the Caldecott Medal, which is a pretty big deal for children's books. And if you have kids, this would be a very good way to introduce them to the Jewish faith and Hanukkah. Because aside from being about Hanukkah, it's a pretty cool story. It stars the character Hershel of Ostropol, who is a Jewish figure in Ukrainian folktales. Hershel is a jokester who is always getting into trouble, but finding ways out of it. Kimmel reimagines this character as a wise fool and unlikely hero. In this story in particular, he uses his jokes and tricks to help others. So the story begins on the first night of Hanukkah. Hershel has been traveling for a long time and he comes across a village, hoping to get into the festivities, thinking that everybody's going to be lighting their menorahs for the first night and playing with dreidels and making delicious potato latkes. He finds that there are no menorahs lit in any of the windows. I don't know, maybe you've come across a Christian village, or a Muslim. Who knows? So he asks the villagers, "Do you have Hanukkah?" "No, we don't have Hanukkah here." And the villagers explain how their town is plagued by goblins who hate Hanukkah with a burning passion. And if the villagers even try to celebrate Hanukkah, the goblins come and destroy all their menorahs, their dreidels, and their potato latkes. No, not the potato latkes! Seriously, I've tried those. Those are delicious. And it's a crime to destroy them. and they take residence in the synagogue. And I can understand it'd be difficult to pray in there when there are scary goblins haunting it. Hershel, sad about the villager's story, wants to help. Because you don't squat in a place of worship just because you hate a holiday and all. And you don't destroy potato latkes. You don't. Or any kind of delicious food for that matter. The rabbi tells Hershel that the only way to break the power of the goblins is to stay in the synagogue and light the menorah each night. And on the 8th night, make the king of the goblins light the menorah himself. Hershel says, yeah, I can do that, no problem. Now, I won't spoil the ending because this is supposed to be a spoiler-free review, but the rest of the book consists of the goblins trying to stop Hershel from lighting the candles, and he uses his wiles to tricking them to leaving him alone, particularly by using their vices against them. Their pride, their greed, their love for gambling. My favorite part was where he tricked one goblin into playing a dreidel with him for money. It's not only a clever way to teach readers all the 4 letters of the dreidel, but Hershel changed the rules so that no matter what the goblin landed on, he lost. Like, if you land on the letter hay, you're supposed to get half the pile of game pieces. But Hershel changed it so that when the goblin spins and lands on the hay half symbol, the goblin gives half of his gold to Hershel. Clever boy. So I looked at the story again after not hearing it for almost 10 years, maybe more. And it was definitely different reading it as an adult than it was as a kid. As a kid, I thought it was a cool adventure/ghost story. And seeing the villagers all sad because they couldn't celebrate their holiday made me want Hershel to win. And his sneakiness and tricking the goblins made me laugh. As an adult, after years of studying English literature and religious studies, I was able to go deeper into my interpretation. I found this, in my opinion, as a story of overcoming religious oppression. The goblins, who are big and scary and definitely hateful, represent anti-Semitism. Think about it. The creatures who hate Hanukkah, which is part of the Jewish faith, refuse to let anyone celebrate it just because they don't like it themselves. There's a difference between not celebrating a holiday because you don't believe in the faith and not letting others celebrate. These goblins are pretty much the Hanukkah Grinches, though not as lovable as the Grinch. But Hershel doesn't let them get him down. Instead of giving in to his fear like the villagers did, he stuck to his faith, and that is how he was able to beat them. By continuing to light the candles despite their efforts to stop him. And there was the irony of tricking them into unwillingly participating in Hanukkah activities, which I just loved. And actually, I found it very similar to the original story of Hanukkah, which I actually only learned about today. Ironically, why don't we learn more about Hanukkah in school? Long ago, this guy, Antiochus, king of Syria, didn't like people who believed in a faith that was different from his. And so, in his hatred, he tried to force his own religion on others, and ransacked all the Jewish temples. By the way, don't blame modern Syrians for this. This was a long time ago, and let's face it, no group, religious, ethnic, racial, is without its bad side. So while some Jewish people gave into their fear of the king of Syria and started practicing the king's faith, others, like Judah Maccabee, still stuck up for their own beliefs. So Judah Maccabee and his brothers fought and defeated Antiochus and his army, and in their triumph, entered their most beautiful and grandest temple in Jerusalem, only to find that it was in shambles. They decided to fix up the place, only the problem was there was no oil to light the menorah. Although they did find one small container of oil, but it was only for one night. But they were surprised to find that the oil never burned out, and it actually lasted 8 nights. So that is why, every year, the Jews light their menorah each night for 8 nights. So you can see why this Hershel story is pretty familiar. We got Hershel, who's in a synagogue, which is the modern Jewish place of worship, spends 8 nights there fighting for what he believed in against oppressive Jewish haters. You could say that Syrian king was like the first goblin king. So if you want to learn more about Hanukkah and a bit about the Jewish faith, or want to introduce your kid to it, or you are Jewish yourself and looking for a nice Hanukkah story to read, you can find Hershel and the Hanukkah Goblins at your local library or bookstore, or find it on Amazon or some other book website. It's a good read, for Jews and non-Jews alike. Want to listen to more Beastly Reads? Become a patron today. And remember that 10% of December proceeds go to Make-A-Wish. For whether you are Jewish, Christian, Muslim, atheist, or whatever, true beauty comes from the kindness you show to others. And a little kindness goes a long way. I don't care if you don't believe in God or Allah or Christ or Krishna. All you really gotta believe in is kindness. Shouldn't we all at least believe in kindness?